Rebekah Brooks says she's baffled by the decision to charge her, whilst her husband Charlie says she's the subject of a witch hunt. The couple, along with 4 others, will appear in court next month, charged with conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. The charges centre on allegations of the concealment of News International material connected with the phone hacking affair. And a warning, this report by our Home Affairs correspondent Davies does contain flash photography.
Once one of the most powerful figures in British journalism, fated by Murdoch, close to prime ministers, Rebekah Brooks today was reduced to signing a police form saying she understood the charges against her. Charges of hiding documents, computers, of removing boxes of material from News International. Some of the most serious allegations made in this whole phone hacking scandal, and all relating to a time last year when, by her own admission, in the midst of the drama, she'd taken centre stage. Centre stage again today, and beside her, her defiant husband, Charlie Brooks.
I would just like to say that I feel today is an attempt to use me and others as scapegoats, the effect of which will be to ratchet up the pressure on my wife, who I also believe is the subject of a witch hunt.
And I'd like to add to that whilst I have always respected the criminal justice system, I have to question today whether the decision was made on a proper, impartial assessment of the evidence. I understand and know that there needs to be a proper and thorough investigation, and I am baffled by the decision to charge me today.
True to her tabloid roots, Rebekah Brooks, it seems, just couldn't resist being the first to break the news about the charges against her. Just minutes before the Crown Prosecution Service announced their decision this morning, she put out a statement in which she deplored what she called a weak and unjust decision by a posturing CPS. Then it was the turn of the woman from the CPS.
Charge 1. Conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. Rebekah Brooks, between the 6th of July and the 19th of July 2011, conspired with Charles Brooks, Cheryl Carter, Mark Hanna, Paul Edwards, Darryl Jorsling and persons unknown to conceal material from officers of the Metropolitan Police Service.
6 people accused, and the first charges linked to the phone hacking affair in almost 6 years. Rebekah Brooks was editor of the News of the World and then The Sun. Before being made chief executive of News International in 2009, she resigned last year. Her husband, Charlie Brooks, is one of the most high-profile figures in British racing, trainer, columnist for the Daily Telegraph and budding novelist. Cheryl Carter was Rebekah Brooks's PA until she left News International last summer. She also wrote a beauty column for The Sun. Mark Hanna, until his arrest, was head of security at News International, where he's still employed. Paul Edwards was Rebekah Brooks's chauffeur. He too is still employed by News International as a driver. The 6th to be charged is Darryl Jorsling. He's described as someone who provided security for Rebekah Brooks. It was in the days following the Millie Dowler hacking revelations last July, at the height of the scandal, that the CPS alleged Rebekah Brooks and her PA made a visit to the News International archive.
Charge 2. Also conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. Rebekah Brooks and Cheryl Carter, between the 6th of July and the 9th of July 2011, conspired together permanently to remove 7 boxes of material from the archive of News International.
Cheryl Carter's lawyer today said she vigorously denied the charges against her. The 3rd charge relates to a 4-day period later that month. 4 days in which the spotlight was on Rebekah Brooks as she resigned from News International and then was arrested in connection with phone hacking allegations.
Charge 3. A further charge of conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. Rebekah Brooks, Charles Brooks, Mark Hanna, Paul Edwards and Darryl Jorsling conspired together and with persons unknown between the 15th of July and the 19th of July 2011 to conceal documents, computers and other electronic equipment from officers of the Metropolitan Police Service.
I cannot express my anger enough that those closest to me have been dragged into this unfairly. One day, the details of this case will emerge, and people will see today as nothing more than an expensive sideshow, a waste of public money as a result of an unjust and weak decision.
The decision is yet another significant blow for Rupert Murdoch, who's already seen his News of the World closed, his son James relinquished power at News International, and now a former chief executive charged with a serious criminal offence. But it will also heap further political embarrassment upon the Prime Minister, the subject already of many a jibe following Rebekah Brooks' recent revelations at the Leveson inquiry about his friendly texts.
LOL, lots of love.
And now seeing another old close friend, Rebekah Brooks' husband, also accused of conspiring to pervert the course of justice.
I have no doubt that the lack of evidence against me will be borne out in court. But I have grave reservations that my wife can ever get a fair trial, given the huge volume of biased commentary that she is constantly subjected to. We will fight this in court. Thank you.
And that fight, no doubt, will be formidable.
Andy Davies, today's charges do indeed bring the whole phone hacking affair closer still to the doors of Downing Street. David Cameron's friendship with both Rebekah and Charlie Brooks is well documented. So, what's the political fallout? Our political editor, Gary Gibbon, is in Westminster. How worried is Downing Street, Gary?
Well, they tell you that they're not too worried. They're getting on with the business of government and the rest of it. But when you talk to people off the record, they say phooey or words to that effect. One of the overwhelming senses you get from talking to people in Downing Street is that there is a great sense of helplessness there. They are aware of this great big beast out there that can smash into bulletins, breaking news. They don't get to hear about it beforehand. They don't have control of events. They know these events can impact on them, but unlike some of the other areas of government where you can pull a lever or something else, this is quite out of their control. And so they're aware that this thing is, this monster of the Leveson inquiry and all the other fallout from the News International saga is out there, aware it's parading around, not giving them a moment to be heard on the other political messages they desperately need to get out there because they've plummeted post-budget in the polls. They want to get a hearing from the British public, but there's all this noise around. So anxiety is probably an understatement, but gets close to it.
Well, what is the precise nature of the Prime Minister's relationship with Mr. and Mrs. Brooks?
Well, you might have got the impression, in fact, I think you were probably meant to get the impression a while ago that the Prime Minister was very close to Charlie Brooks. In fact, I think the impression was meant to get into your head that the only reason that he ever bumped into Rebekah Brooks on a regular basis was because he was a deep and long-standing friend of Charlie Brooks. They were at school together, the rest of it. I knew him for more than 30 years, is what David Cameron says. But there's more and more people. I was talking to one of David Cameron's schoolboy of friends, long-standing friends today, who were slightly puzzled by this. They can't place Charlie Brooks ever crossing the Prime Minister's path, particularly at school, not being a close friend of his. Years of knowing him after that, they don't remember him being around. He was a friend of the Prime Minister's elder brother, but it's almost as if the Prime Minister was trying to construct some sort of air raid shelter to protect him from the allegations against Rebekah Brooks, but hey presto, here they are today, the allegations, the potential court case against both of them staring at him.
Gary Gibbon at Westminster.